Okay, ladies and gentlemen, next up is the panel you've all been waiting for. It's called Super Saudi, a global phenomenon. The panelists for this panel are Haneen Yunus, the managing partner of MENA Partners, strategic advisor and executive business development. MENA, please welcome Haneen Yunus to the stage. Next up, a fan favorite here at the summit, Mr. Khalid Al Maina, Quartz and Abir Medical Group, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Last but not least, Mr. Salman Jassim, CEO, Swiss Hospitality Company and Star Institute, board member of Saudi French Business Council. Moderating this session is someone who's also a fan favorite here at the summit, Mr. Khalid Al Quud, chairman of Al Quud Enterprise and Bahrain CSR Society from the Kingdom of Bahrain, coming all the way from the back of the room. Please welcome Mr. Khalid to the stage. Okay, I'm going to read this straight off the screen. Mr. Assam Al-Bakr, CEO and founder of Al-Jada Investment Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I'm super sorry, Mr. Assam. Please welcome Mr. Assam to the stage.
A very good afternoon. There is a very strange thing that is happening in the conference, and I just have to say it. Where is Muhammad once again? He's not here. You walk into the conference in the morning. Hi, Muhammad. You walk into the conference in the morning with six-pack, but after your lunch, we have only one pack. It's really delicious lunch that we had. Good afternoon, everyone. It's given me a great pleasure and honor to be here with you once again. And I just have to clarify, the guy with the traditional clothes and his thobe is me. I'm in a suit today. So let's start this panel. When I first got the introduction, once again, from Hamad, and he says I have to moderate, I came up with a beautiful questions for all the panelists except one, which I have to make the question for him today, on the spot. And the topic for today is about looking at the Saudi sustainable growth in a topic called the Super Saudi. In a short brief, a look at Saudi Arabia relationship and influence in the regions and around the world, and the change in the politic phase of Saudi Arabia, and the vision of Saudi Arabia 2030. Those topics will be addressed today by beautiful speakers in different fields. We have Miss Haneen Yunus, and say, managing partners of MENA Partners, strategic advisor and executive business development on the MENA. We have Mr. Khalid Al Maina. Did I pronounce it right? Okay. He's an old friend. That's all what I can introduce you with. I met him in Jeddah, a brilliant speaker. He have built a change in wherever he goes, and he still do. And we have Salman Qasim, the CEO of Swiss Hospitality Company and Star Institute, board member of the Saudi French Business Consultants. And our fourth speaker for today, I'll give him the mic to introduce himself once again.
Why? Because you can't pronounce my name.
Assam Al-Bakr. I sat next to you for a reason.
You did?
To read your badge.
Oh, okay. Well, you can ask me. So, do you want me to introduce myself?
Please do, so the audience will get to know you better.
Well, humbly, I'm just going to say it in two sentences. I manage a private equity in Saudi. We're focused on various disciplines, including credit finance, trade finance. Anyone who was here last night would have noticed that we had a round table, which Mohammed allowed us to present our products. We do have advisory and arranging, and also we focus also on VC. So we have a MENA strategy, so we have African focused funds and GCC and Saudi.
Excellent. It's a pleasure to have you on this panel
Thank
with us
you.
here today. Mr. Khalid, I would like to start with you. Yes. A very simple question, but I do have a deep answer. What does 2030 means to you?
2030 to me means a total change from what was happening in Saudi Arabia in the last 35 years of my professional life. It's a plunge into the unknown. It's a plunge into challenges which we don't know of. It is also taking challenges that we didn't know the outcome, but it needs dedication and it needs faith. And I think the people who designed the 2030 vision and the Crown Prince, I think, must have really gambled on something that it would be positive, and in the final analysis, we would reach our goals. The changes, and I talk as a senior citizen now in Saudi, are phenomenal. In the last 4 years, what you have seen, and I'm not talking about cosmetic changes of women driving or women moving around, because there has always been some kind of reformation since Saudi Arabia was formed, but albeit slowly. But in this, you can see the positive change. Young people, a buzz, business, economics, the IT, the digital transformation, which really contributed a lot to the economy. And as somebody said years ago, a nation that deprives half of its population from work is doomed to failure. So I think 2030, for me, is a vision that means hope and also means a better life if it's properly administered. We also have to have an if and a but. If it's properly administered, I think it will create a better life. One final thing also, it is a total cut-off from the old. For years, we lulled ourselves that oil is going to stay. Yes, inshallah, oil will be going to stay, but the challenges that are coming, solar energy, sustainable energy, all these kind of things, and we sort of gave ourselves morphine. No, Saudi Arabia, the biggest leader and all. But now the realization has come that if we don't take this drastic change and turn around and go to alternative sources of revenue, we'll be left far behind. And that's why you see all these changes. There are pitfalls we have to check. There'll be trial and error, but I think in the final analysis, at the end of 10, 15 years, the second generation that comes after this will have hope.
That's great. I believe also that strategies, if they're kept as a strategies without implementations, they will lead to nothing. We have lots of offices, we have lots of corporate companies, we have lots of nations that they have strategies, but if they don't activate it, it will remain a beautiful frame. It's a picture. Thank you, Khalid. Ms. Haneen, as an expert in the Saudi markets for more than 2 decades, including your extensive relationship with the principals of family offices and investments from Saudi and to the GCCs as well. Can you share with us the main investments themes of interest you are seeing in those families today?
Sure. First of all, I'd like to focus on what Dr. Ma'ina was saying. The fact that there's this hope. As a Saudi myself, I'm probably mid-generation, so I also feel the same. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of thrust around the younger generation, and we've met some younger generation gentlemen yesterday. The vibe is just incredible. I mean, it makes me want to go to Saudi like right now. It's really, they're very excited. There's a lot happening, and that hope element is very, very important. So the 2030 strategy, when it was put together, I mean, I was one of the people thinking this just looks, it looks amazing and too good to be true. But that going forward, refiguring, rejigging, fixing it, going forward, rejigging, that's what Dubai did. They made a lot of mistakes and they kept rejigging and then it works. So I think that the passion behind it and the intention behind it is very important. And based on that, what we're seeing as well today within the family offices, what I see with the families that I've known for decades, is in-country investing. And they want to manage their own risks and they want to manage their own investments. And they want to do more things that are sustainable in case there's a pandemic again and they might get cut off to the rest of the world in terms of logistics or shipping or flights, etc. So you'll find people are tending to do more in-country, and that also stipulates their existing businesses. So more technologies that are proven, that increase efficiencies in their in-house businesses. They've consolidated and tightened up. Many mergers have happened. You'll find, of course, hospitality is going through the roof. And with hospitality comes the training, the accreditation, which Salman will go into, which is very interesting, because for hospitality and all these great restaurants and all the international restaurants and all the high-end restaurants moving from Dubai to Riyadh and Jeddah, you go now, you have a fantastic choice, but they also need training. So that's also training of people, which Salman does again, and he'll discuss, and also Saudis and giving them jobs, etc. The same applies to the tourism sector. You'll find the Saudi families are very much interested in the tourism sector. They're investing more in hotels and things that are ancillary businesses around tourism. Of course, then we have healthcare. It's not only about hospitals now, it's about all the new things that have come up within the healthcare business. PCR tests, now we have a competition. Who can deliver a PCR test in 3 hours or 12 hours? And all the businesses that come around healthcare, including in-country manufacturing. Again, then we have consumer product manufacturings that are supplying the demand so that, again, if there's a pandemic, we are pandemic-proof. Again, mergers, there's a lot of companies, you'll see banks, they're merging, they're consolidating, again, increasing efficiencies. We might also take a look, again, at food and agriculture and identifying the gaps in the food efficiency in the market. So these are the main themes that I'm seeing. Maybe Dr. Magna, do you want to add something to that, or is pretty well covered?
Well, I think you've covered it.
Okay, so I think those are the main themes. And then, of course, the tourism and the resorts that are happening, we'll find the tourism is no longer just the regular kind of tourism. It's kind of an awakening of a giant, because we're on the Red Sea, across from, great scuba diving, beautiful oceans, beautiful corals, and across from us we have Al Guna, which is beautiful. But I think that this Red Sea resort and the Red Sea collection is going up a step. It's taking it up a step to like a 7-star level. So it's going to attract the best of class. It is attracting the best of class in talent, in hotels, in infrastructure, etc. And it's really a beauty what they're planning. So I think this is going to be something really great. They're hiring people that are, the human capital is of high quality. They know how to execute. They know how to implement. Many mistakes will be made. There's no doubt about it, but they're planning on fixing it and they want to do it right. So, I mean, I as a Saudi, I'm really proud. I'm really looking forward. And I mean, I can't wait to see even more. It's really looking good.
Thank you, Hani. I'll go back to Mr. Assam. With the start of the Vision 2030, there is a lots of challenges and there is also a lots of opportunities. Share with us some of those stories that you have.
Well, I mean, living in Saudi, if you would have asked me 6, 7 years ago, would you expect what's happening today would ever happen? You know, women driving, things changing. I would tell you, not in a million years. It takes the will and determination of a progressive leadership to see where this country is going to evolve. 2030, for anyone trying to understand and not be confused, it is not about the optics of what you can do in Saudi. It is addressing the mindset of the Saudis. It's Obviously, it's not targeting my generation. I'm a little bit older. So it's definitely targeting a generation that will eventually take the helm of changing on the ground. What we have dealt with is an accumulation of decades that really put us in a stagnation, a continuous stagnation, that this country, even with the wealth that it possesses, was unable to break through and really compete even with smaller economies, more on the peripherals. What we see today, or what I am actually observing and experiencing as things happen on the ground, is there is nothing in the playbook where we could come and say, you know, we have a proof 100% this is going to happen and it's going to pan out to be in the right way. There are trials, there are errors, there's challenges, and you can face it because what you're trying to do is you're changing the status quo, whether it's economics, whether it's the social, whether it's a lot of things. Women, for example, are taking a different position and stand within society. I mean, I feel like Saudi women are more empowered than even economies that are more advanced, and they claim that they have independence of women. I think Saudi women today and what they are experiencing is an avalanche of opportunities. We as citizens of this country and participant, we have a role to really enact on this and continue doubling down on focusing on what makes the Saudi market a sustainable one and an attractive one for investors to come in. There's always a challenge. Saudi Arabia has always been plagued by the defamation of its reputation. So we're always been caught in the media as this and that and so. But when you come and you invite people to see, in reality, they see a different picture. They see a country that is populated with talent, with young population, with huge creativeness. I mean, Saudi Arabia does not need to import any talent. It has everything embedded. So for us, it is more or less harnessing it and really showcasing it to the society so others can emulate. Others can really look at it and say, no, we can do better. And there is that interesting challenge that happens between them.
Thank you very much for your comments on that topic, and that will lead me to a comment, sorry, to a statement that I would like Salman, Mr. Salman, to comment on. And the statement is, the Saudi government strategy is to make the tourism one of the main pillar and stream in the market.
Thank you for the question. That's definitely going to be the case. So Saudi Arabia is very determined on diversifying its economy, and I think that's quite clear, and it's covered already through my fellow colleagues here and through other panels and other discussions. But what's also important to mention is that Saudi Arabia is extremely determined to really raise the standard and to position Saudi Arabia as a global destination for tourists across the world. And I would like to start with a few very interesting facts, such as when Saudi Arabia, or the Ministry of Tourism in specific in Saudi Arabia, launched the National Tourism Strategy, the total contribution of tourism towards the GDP, it was less than 4%. It's about 3.5%. And the target is to have it about 10% by 2030. So that's a clear measure and a clear, let's say, room for growth as far as tourism is concerned in Saudi Arabia. So further and adding another factor into that from a global perspective, just in 2019, before the pandemic, we had more than 1.6 billion tourists all over the world. Moreover to that, another fact is 40% of travelers, they travel due to culture or for cultural purposes to discover other cultures. and 30% they go for sun and sea, right? For beaches and stuff. What's very unique is that Saudi Arabia has it all, right? Has unique offerings when it comes to culture. Saudi Arabia is extremely wealthy when it comes to culture. It depends on where are you in Saudi, whether you're in the south or the north or the central or west or east. There are different cultures and different type of experiences and very unique and authentic experiences that you get to have. Adding to that, sun and sea, Saudi Arabia enjoys a long coast along the Red Sea, and so many other offerings. So Saudi Arabia is extremely determined towards that. I believe we have already achieved multiple milestones. Only this month we have launched, maybe many of you have heard about Riyadh Seasons. So the Riyadh season was launched already this month, and it's expected to be on for about 6 months. And then we have Jeddah season that is happening. It's not announced, should I say? So Jeddah season is starting in January also for 3 months, and it's expected to be something else, something that was never witnessed, whether in Saudi, and in some areas maybe not really witnessed in the region. So why is all of that? Saudi has the capability, Saudi has the resources, Saudi has definitely the population to host and to welcome tourists and people from all over the world, and obviously local tourists, to make that statement and the aim and the vision of His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman viable. So we're definitely on track.
Thank you very much. I believe that empowering the youth is empowering generation, and empowering the woman is empowering the world, and the man is also the biggest supporter for both. I have a question for Mr. Khalid. How Saudi youth who are holding a senior positions suddenly goes to cope up with unforeseen problems? I repeat the question again. How Saudi youth who are holding senior positions suddenly going to cope up with unforeseen problems?
Well, I'm sure there are quite a few, especially the CEOs and people working in governments. I always like to follow the lead of the former Prime Minister of Singapore, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, who after he resigned, after a long period of winning elections, became a minister mentor. Now what we have here is CEOs at the age of 35, 40, 45. When we were young also, we aspired to hold those positions. But I did notice, and we have to be very frank, that quite a few of them lack the experience. I wish they would have mentors. There is a certain arrogance in some. Let me be very clear about it. Not everyone, but I know it all, you guys don't know. In fact, one young Saudi told one of the news wires that the elders envy us. And I said to myself, why should I envy this guy? I had a great life, and there's many people around me. So I think there has to be humility among the people, not only in Saudi Arabia, but they have to listen. And I think something can be done by the authorities is to have guilds or to have associations of people who are in certain ministries, choose 5 or 6 from different places to come and guide these people. I'm not saying that they are not up to the mark. After all, Britain had the Prime Minister, Sir William Pitt I, who was only 21 years old. And this was 150 years ago, or maybe, I don't know, 100 years ago. We want the young to go ahead. We want for them, but we don't want too many trials and too many errors, because they could be a bit disastrous for major companies and all. And as such, I'm not one of those who would like to cling to seats or something, but I truly believe the Singapore experience is something that we in the Gulf, not only in Saudi Arabia, should look at and see a marriage between old, who are the professionals and who know. Not all people are wise, not all people are professionals, but those who are, and the young people who are holding major, professional positions and who at times are scared. I know for quite a few people who call me off and on, and call others too, asking what can be done, because they're deathly scared of making a mistake, because mistakes can prove to be very costly. So I would want, as I said, a happy meeting ground, a platform between young people who are holding family businesses, first generation, second generation have gone, and also those in public should come up, and it's not a shame to ask for advice.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Khalid. And I have a question for Mr. Assam. It's in the same line. What will be your advice to the young generations when they just join an office, especially if they are running the investments division?
Okay, I just want to add to what Mr. Khalid just explained, because he was talking about some of the ministers, so I'm not going to be very critical. Half of them, they're classmates of mine. So,
I was not talking about ministers.
oh, okay.
I was talking about young people in business.
All right,
I mean, even in businesses, young people, even in our own family system, people come up. So it's a general thing, you know.
I mean, if we're talking about passing on the baton and the generation of, you know, from the patriarch, you know, and going through the hierarchy within family structures, if you want to assess, go to the courts, and you will see a lot of cases. And for a little bit over 10 years or so, the government has been very proactive. I think they've even showed more interest in convening committees to tackle some of these family businesses, because a lot of them, because of conflicts within, because of different opinions and views, are actually disappearing, or they are going through bankruptcies. Why? Because, you know, one of them would claim ownership of the decision, you know, really more or less hijacking that decision. And we go back to one thing also, which is the corporate governance of most of these businesses. And are the young generation experienced enough to manage the decision process, the success and the challenges? Honestly, there's very good examples, and I can name a lot of families, and they've done amazingly well in structure. And some of them, they've done very lousy, and, you know, they keep complaining about, you know, how disruptive their business is because of the decision process. It's not, you have to give them the chance. You have to give them the opportunity. You have to allow them to step in their father's shoe or their eldest, so that at least they can take control of the business and be more proactive. I think there's always ways to mitigate the risk of such of these family offices not going into turmoil just because of a single decision or someone more or less managing it with an ill-experienced way. I think the Ministry of Commerce is actually also lending a hand in that area. And there are a lot of examples. And I think most of today, and what I see, and there's very famous families, I really don't want to mention some of them, and they've done amazingly well in clubbing their investments, in really bringing the generations and getting them together through symposiums, through different events, for all of them to share experience. And I see that a lot.
That's why one of the things that we also advise the family offices to do is not to bring the young generation directly to the company. We advise them always to take them for 1 year job outside the group, and then to be assessed for another 1 full year within a rotation inside the group. And then assessment should be done in the positions that they were going to carry, for them to check if they're fit or not in the end. Because end of the day, it's a legacy to be maintained.
Yeah, but let me add something here. Some of the family businesses, and we can see it between East, West, Central, Province, the eldest has always held the position and the decision not to evolve, not to develop. the country itself is evolving and developing. Where are you in the next 5, 10 years? And you can see that struggle within a single family, because some of them are still holding on, and they're not allowing for that generation to take the responsibility. I'm not telling you give him, a blank check and let him deal with it, but at least there's a transition where you could allow them the opportunity to take responsibilities. And I think it's the fault of both sides. I mean, some of the patriarch, they still, hold on to the power and not allow their young generation to take any position within, at least in the decision-making process. And this what we see today. We see a lot of companies, conglomerates, family offices, or family businesses. They were the leader in their own industry, and now they are more or less disappearing.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Assam. Let me move on to Mr. Salman. Mr. Salman, what is the role of the private sectors in the tourism industry and the potential in this sector as well?
I sincerely believe, and I believe anyone who's interacting with the tourism industry would believe that the private sector actually plays an integral role of the overall tourism ecosystem. It doesn't actually complete without it, and for the most part, it's actually driven by the local sector, and it's enabled by the government sector, the public sector, through different regulations and funding and different type of opportunities. So in Saudi Arabia in specific, I can give a number of examples, but in Saudi Arabia, we can see that the tourism ecosystem is maturing, and whereby the private sector is taking more its role and is really fulfilling its contribution to really maturing the ecosystem. Today, part of our company and part of our institute, the way we operate, in most of our deals, we always engage with the private sector. I'm very fortunate to tell you that we have more than 50 partners from the private sectors. Comes from hotels, resorts, restaurant, cafes, cinema companies, entertainment companies, etc. And so where we basically partner with them, and then we engage with the public sector, such as the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Human Resources, and otherwise. And we always have their sort of support and buy-in. And then we also engage with the with non-profit organizations or the third sector in general. We believe they do have, let's say, a role to play in the overall ecosystem. And we position ourselves somewhere in the middle, where we act as an engine for those three stakeholders to work together towards, to achieve a common goal. Specifically, the role of private sector in tourism is extremely crucial. As you may know, tourism is one of the largest job-generating industry in the world, and definitely in Saudi Arabia, soon to be. Therefore, the role of the private sector is quite crucial, and Saudi Arabia and the local authorities are quite aware of that. Therefore, currently, the Ministry of Tourism is taking it very serious to revisit the current regulations as far as the tourism activities are concerned. The new regulations for the hotels and accommodation and lodging overall has been published, which is set and designed in a way to really help both consumers and hotel owners and operators to really provide something that is unique and outstanding. Very soon, Saudi Arabia will be launching, or the Ministry of Tourism in specific will be launching a new set of regulations for tour guides, tour operators, and for the very first time, peer-to-peer accommodation. So peer-to-peer accommodation is soon to be regulated in Saudi Arabia, but actually also enabled. And when I say enabled, Saudi Arabia has also, not so long ago, dedicated a fund of 15 billion Saudi riyal for tourism projects. So today it's, and they work with a simple formula that they would finance up to 75% and up to a couple of hundreds of millions of riyal worth of funding if you have a project that serves the tourism ecosystem in general and meets some of the KPIs that are, I believe, are quite reasonable. So we're definitely, they play an integral role, and in Saudi Arabia we're also maturing in that area.
Thank you very much for your answer. And this question goes to all the panelists. What impact does Saudi Arabia Vision 2030 have on your organizational strategy, and how did you measure the impact within your strategy as well? Question once again, what impact does Saudi Arabia Vision 2030 have on your organizational strategy? Okay, so I will start with Mr. Khalid, goes to Ms. Haneen, Isam, and back to Mr. Khalid.
Well, the impact is very positive. In fact, it is a volcanic impact because it affords you many avenues to travel through to reach your goals. It offers marketing, the lessening of restrictions on travel, the lessening of restrictions on setting up businesses, people coming in, more collaboration, I think has created a very positive impact. The other thing is the employment with the 2030 vision. More women are coming in, so you don't waste time getting people from here and there, and so you can get a heavy dose of natural talent that's available in all fields. So I think it is something that cannot be measured because it really cannot be measured. It's huge, gigantic, positive, and I think it gives hope. But at the same time, we need, as Salman said, regulations to be put in place, people to know what is the plus and minus, and these kind of issues. But on a larger scale, I think the impact is truly positive.
Yes, I think also that the impact is very positive. I think it's allowed for a much more open platform for more opportunities in my particular business, which is helping companies that want to enter the market and find strategic partners, strategic joint venture partners, investors, and business opportunities. So it's created so many different opportunities, so much more scope in terms of what you can be involved in. So definitely it's opened up a far more horizons. It's also created a lot more interest in Saudi Arabia. People are excited, they're hearing about it. The FII conference that's happening now, which is basically Davos of Saudi Arabia, has also created a lot of impact around the Vision 2030, allowing people to see and Saudi to showcase themselves. We're showcasing here in Expo. We're the biggest showcase at the Expo 2021 in UAE. So you have that whole vision, it's a whole ecosystem of a lot of moving parts, and all those moving parts impact people who are operating within Saudi or operating into Saudi or that want to get into Saudi.
Well, the impact, you can see it in leveling the playing field. So before 2015, a lot of people will always, tell you about the challenges that they experience. And it's equally said between foreigners, foreign investors, and Saudi ones alike. But what happened was the playing field was leveled that everyone is going to compete equally. And the opportunities is available for everyone. And transparency on bidding, on competing on many projects is profound. Before 2015, there was no, and I want to say something to also Sana, there was no tourism. Before 2015, there was no entertainment. Before 2015, there was a lot of things that were not there. You're talking about industries that are being created. I think, honestly speaking, and this is not just being, so self-confident in what we're doing, but I think the challenge is on the other economies surrounding Saudi. Because the business model that everyone else took for granted is being challenged. It is being challenged because what you thought that was never going to happen, it is happening today. Yeah. So basically, what we think that is happening in Saudi in my opinion, and what's going to happen in the future, it is going to make it more challengeable for a lot of the other economies around us and create opportunities. And the opportunities that are created for everyone to come in is profound.
So as Assam perfectly said, there was no much of tourism before 2015, and we actually started before 2015. We started actually 2014, when tourism and hospitality was never really seen as an industry, for a matter of fact, in Saudi Arabia, and definitely not an industry for locals to pursue their career. The launch of 2030 was a blessing. We did not have to change any of our mission or vision or any of our plans yet, but to expand further. It really boosted our operation and our scalability to where we have reached today. Today we are actually operating a group of companies. All fall under the umbrella of tourism. We mostly focus on human capital development, so basically training and education. We're based in Jeddah, Riyadh, and Al-Hassa, and we have also established a licensed training institute in Saudi Arabia called STAR Institute with a double T. And as the name says, STAR with a double T stands for, it's an abbreviation for Saudi Tourism Training and Recruitment. With a set of really smartly designed set of programs to really fill in the gap and to cope up with the ambitious projects that Vision 2030 mentioned and announced. For us, Vision 2030 announcement was not really much of an announcement, but rather an invitation for us to contribute. We believe it's everyone's responsibility to contribute within the local Saudi community, the private sector, the non-profit organizations, the citizen and the individuals. And obviously the government is leading the way and is enabling us to really contribute and make that change or difference. For us specifically, we focus on investing in people's potential, and luckily we have been witnessing a lot of success. Ever since 2014, 2015, as you mentioned, we had very shy numbers, even for us to mention here, in terms of how much impact we were able to generate and how many people we were able to train and to employ within the sector. This year, and we're somehow considered it's still a Corona year, we're talking in hundreds and soon to be thousands. In terms of impact, we're very lucky to have this sort of positioning. We're very lucky to have these partnerships with the private sector and to really support them with, qualified and trained Saudi calibers for their outlets, whether it be at hotels, restaurant, cafes, whatever they are. So it's a great blessing, but it's also a responsibility, and we are responding to that.
Thank you very much. The master of ceremony have given me a warning that there was 2 minutes left. That was 2 minutes ago. And then he walked a little bit to the front, and I think he says that there is 1 minute left, right? 0 minutes? Okay, because 0 is here. All right, so let's have the last word from all the panelists. We'll start with Mr. Khalid. In 60 seconds, what is your message?
I'm on. Well, I think whatever the changes that are being done sometimes are perceived by the media outside as a reaction to the region around us, grabbing of market share, and you spoke about the seismic value. Personally, I think as somebody following what's happening, it's a self-sustaining program. What we want to be dependent and interdependent on our own selves, create jobs, and be ready for when, if oil runs out or for whatever calamity has come. The pandemic has been a great boon for us because it created jobs, it created delivery systems, it created apps. The number of apps in Saudi Arabia has gone up. Women have come in. So I truly believe that we are positive and we are making a great show of all what has happened. But again, let me say again that this is not because one of the sentences in the program was that the reaction outside the region. I think the 2030 vision is focused inwards and not outside.
Thank you very much. Assam?
Well, I'll yield my time to my esteemed co-panelist because I have to catch a flight.
Thank you. Haneen?
Yeah, I see it's exciting times, seismic shift, uncovering of a lot of innovation, people hungry to do good, people hungry to do things for their country. I think it's even actually increased in nationalism, excitement about Saudi Arabia, about the country, sustainability, what's happening inside. We want to make it happen. I just see a lot of positive.
Thank you so much.
Great. So I spoke a bit about tourism and how Saudi Arabia is literally leading the way as far as tourism is concerned. I would like to end up with a specific message towards family offices and investors across the board to really consider tourism, tourism companies and tourism startups in Saudi Arabia, because it's not only that many of them could have a lot of potential, but the market has tremendous potential as well. And for that, if the organizers allow me, one of our companies actually is the operator for the tourism entrepreneur bootcamp that is part of the Ministry of Tourism, and also the tourism accelerator program. So our company is actually the one who's operating it and running the program for them. And I would be more than happy to welcome any of the guests here at the Middle East Family Office Investment Summit to interact with me, so I can connect you with those startups, very, very promising startups, some of which already generated several millions in revenue, and they have tremendous potential, and they're already enabled by the government, therefore they are at these programs. So this is an open invitation to you.
Thank you very much. In conclusion, Saudi Arabia have established their success vehicles. And like any other office or any businesses, these vehicles will be started by decision makers. And the decision makers have the choice to put it on D and go forward to their goals, or put it in R and go backward to nothing. So I leave you with that. Put your car on D and go forward. Thank you very much.
Questions, ladies and gentlemen. Questions? Okay, we've got a question at the back, left.
Questions? The gentleman over there.
Thank you very much for your time. I was hoping that the panel would touch specifically on some of the legislative reform that's happening in Saudi and your firsthand experiences. We, as a fund, we had invested in one of the most, I would say, prolific bankruptcies on the heels of the financial crisis, which came out of Saudi Arabia, and it was the Ahmed Hamad al-Ghuseibi, which lingered in the court system for 12 years until the implementation of the new bankruptcy law, and suddenly, the situation resolved, and we were able to crystallize a great deal of value. That was the first, example where I saw rapid legislative reform being implemented and drive value for the country. I was wondering if you guys, in your experiences as investors, business operators, if you can cite specific examples from the last 5 years, be it connected to Vision 2030 or independent of it, that helped you create value for your businesses.
Khalid?
Well, you have been specific by naming someone, but we are not on par to do that. But there have been 2 or 3 important cases in Saudi where the 12-year period has gone down to 4. I'm not telling you that all is hunky-dory. When you're a cruiser and you can't just turn 90 degrees, but there have been legislative reforms. There are many other reforms in the Chamber of Commerce and business, but it's going to take time. Even if reforms are made, the people who implement, the bureaucrats, you need a rehab of the mindsets. You just can't do it tomorrow. So I think it's going to take some time, but time is not our friend. So, but I have seen myself, and there are people here in the legal department who tell you the judicial process is speeding up, maybe not to the extent that we want or you want, but it is, and there is hope at the light of the tunnel. And the Ghuseibi thing, unfortunately, happened at a time when there were no rules or regulations, and it was like a Dallas or Dynasty type of situation with family squabbles. So even the judges had a hard time knowing who's who in the family.
Thank you, Khalid. Let's move on to the next question.
Okay, one more question.
Hello, it's Mohammed here from Egypt.
All right. Here you go. This is Mohammed from Egypt.
Yeah. Okay, so I had a question. We saw in the news that Fetcher faced a problem with taxation from Saudi and also Kareem. So I just wanted to understand what's happening with the VAT and the taxation and why is it coming post-operation? Because we have a couple of startups that we are discussing to go into Saudi and I haven't had the chance to ask anyone. Thank you.
Well, it is taxation due. So they are obligated. I mean, I think it's more of their internal accounting system, but that's VAT. I mean, they provide services, and there is a VAT that needs to be paid. So the details of it, I can't really tell, but I don't think randomly they're going to accuse them of backdated tax that is not paid. It is a very transparent system. You know, I know it. I know a lot of people at the Tax Bureau and the Tax and Zakat Bureau. So I wouldn't really read too much in what the media says. I think you need to go to the principles, and it would be easy to take that as an example and just paint a brush all over the whole economy and the other startups. So I would be very cautious not to generalize, but you know, singling out one case from another, I think you need to allow yourself to understand the merit of that specific case.
Okay, thank you very much, esteemed panel. Thank you.
Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you.